Hi, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Stassi. Thank you so much for being here today. I hope you guys enjoyed last week's episode where we dived into the Sims 1 lore. Well, guess what? We're going to talk about Sims 2 lore today, baby. And I cannot
Woo!
wait to have Gonz and Disney break it down for us. Thank you both so much for coming here today.
Oh, of course, happy to be here.
Oh,
Silly, silly.
I'm excited to honest. I'm excited to learn more. I was excited last week. I learned so much, even if it was just little bits, even just like honestly, something that it took me a little bit to learn was the different town maps. It's literally one, two,
Yes.
three. I had no idea.
Yeah, it's really confusing. And they learned a lot from The Sims 1. By the time The Sims 2 was made, The Sims 1 had become the greatest game ever sold, right? So they knew they had to do everything bigger, better, more expansive. And the one decision that shaped The Sims forever was that they chose to have predefined stories within The Sims, right? That was the biggest singular decision that changed everything. And again, what do we mean by that in The Sims 2, right? Well, again, as far as The Sims 2 is concerned, they told stories in a couple of different ways. So if you're playing The Sims, again, it was just recently released, so you might have access to it. You go in, and when you select a town, right, or a neighborhood in this case, it gives you a little pop-up basically saying the story of the town, right? The most famous, of course, being the disappearance of Bella Goth, which we'll get totally into. You have a couple of different other storylines as well. But ultimately, that's how you get like the overall understanding of what the neighborhood is all about, right? However, once you get into the Sims game itself and you select your family, you'll notice that every single Sim spawns with a predefined history. Okay. And this is basically an opportunity within the UI that you're able to click on memories, milestones, and you're able to see things like was born, had their first kiss with X and Y, divorced with X and Y. Like you're able to see their entire history up until that point of the game starting. And with those little clues, people were able to piece together storylines and come to an understanding of what happened with these characters, right? And coding issue or not, some townies were made incorrectly, which itself spawned a whole series of conspiracy theories about what happened with those townies, right? And those are the ones that we're going to be talking about today. So I think unless anyone has objections, I think we should just jump into some of the more critical stories of The Sims 2.
Let's
Let's
do it.
Right?
let's jump in.
Wonderful. Okay, I think there's no avoiding the fact that we need to talk about the Goth family and the disappearance of Bella Goth, right? So early on, when The Sims 2 released, they made the conscious decision of removing Bella Goth from the game, right? That was the whole premise. Is that one day Bella Goth apparently went to do like a welcome wagon friendly neighborhood welcome to the neighborhood to a Mr. Don Lothario, in which then she was seemingly teleported out of existence. Like she just disappeared. She was gone, right? And she's not present in the story, right? So the game starts with the Goth family. You have Mortimer Goth, who's now an old man. You have Cassandra Goth, who's now a young lady, and she's actually on the verge of marrying that same man, Don Lothario. And of course, then we have Alexander Goth. He's a young little kid, kind of a book nerd. We love him for that, just kind of doing his thing, right? Now, as I mentioned earlier, when we start looking at the little memories and milestones of all of our characters, we start to learn a couple of interesting things. One of them, of course, is that we learn that Don Lothario actually tried to hit on Bella Goth the night that she visited him, right? Now, we need to talk about how sus and disgusting that is, that this man tried to hit on a woman's mom, failed, and then was like, oh, well, I'm probably going to marry her instead, right? I mean, Don Lothario is gross. Those of you who like Don Lothario, man, I don't agree with you, but he's kind of gross on that regard, right? But either way, it gets grosser, though. It gets grosser, right? Because At the same time, if you play the Calientes, which we're going to talk about in a moment, right? But if you play the Calientes, the first thing that happens when you load up the sisters is that Mortimer Goth appears on their lot having a relationship with Dina Caliente, right? Now, Goth is like canonically like 19 or 20 years. Mortimer's like 70. All right. So this man, like his wife is missing and he's like, nah. I'm gonna sow my oats. I'm gonna sow my crusty old oats all over the place. And that's what we get him doing his thing. Right. So all around, disgusting family. But we end up learning a lot about this. And the reason I bring up all these different families, the reason I bring up the Calientes, the reason I bring up Don Lothario, the Goths, is because we're able to come up with the story of the disappearance of Bela Goth. Right. So what do we know? We know that Bela Goth went to visit Don Lothario when he first arrived in the neighborhood. Now, apparently she arrives at night, which again, that's suspicious. How many people do you know who are married women who go over to a bachelor man's house in the middle of the night? That's sus. Whatever, we'll leave that for another episode. And they decide to go stargazing for some reason. Like, that's just like, that was a weird conversation, but they decide to go stargazing. And in that process, we believe that she is abducted by aliens. Now, that itself is weird, but we'll get into kind of what happens there, right? We then know, right? And we're going to talk about what we know, and then we're going to talk about the inferences that are made as far as the lore is concerned. We then know that months or years pass, which we don't know, by the way. This is an interesting topic. Bela Goth appears at Don Lothario's house as a young woman, right? But Mortimer Goth is a very old man. So we don't know if this happened like a month before The Sims 2 starts or years before The Sims 2 starts. We really don't know. But either way, it turns out that Don Lothario is now engaged to be married with Cassandra Goth, right? Now, if you play the Cassandra Goth house, right, then Cassandra Goth and Don Lothario, after a few minutes of playing, will have a cutscene in which they are officially getting married. And unfortunately, that ends with Don Lothario having cold feet and leaving Cassandra Goth at the altar for her to cry and be depressed, right? And we have to ask ourselves, why does Don Lothario not go through with marrying Cassandra Goth? Now, there's a couple of different things that we can ask ourselves. We can say that, oh, it's because he is a Lothario, right? Which itself is just a womanizer. Or he must have had some ulterior motive, right? And that actually is a good segue for us to talk about what that ulterior motive is. And that's the fact that Don Lothario has an intimate relationship with his neighbors, Dina and Nina Caliente. Okay? Now, Dina and Nina, sisters. Don Lothario has a relationship with both of them. They are their neighbors. They are Latino of origin. And most importantly, they are part alien. Now, that is a random thing, but if you look at their histories and their memories, you learn that they are part alien. So we're able to, and again, Dina is romantically involved with Mortimer Goth. We also know that Dina is a gold digger. She's all about money, and she's not a particularly good person. Neither is Nina necessarily. But with this information, we're basically able to concoct a theory. We believe that Nina and Dina want to make as much money as possible. So Dina needs to get Bela Goth out of the picture so that she can seduce Mortimer Goth. She does that by swaying Don Lothario to have Bela Goth appear at his home so that Bela Goth is abducted by aliens. Why is she abducted by aliens? Because Nina and Dina are part alien, so they're able to likely reach out to their alien family and have them take Bela Goth, right? Once Bela Goth is out of the picture, they then convince Don Lothario to date Cassandra Goth so that Cassandra Goth is distracted while Dina romances Mortimer Goth. Now, you ask yourself, what part does Nina Caliente have in all of this, right? A lot of theories have been thrown around. The one I believe is that Nina actually is the innocent in all this. I believe that Nina legitimately loves Don Lothario. I believe that Nina simply is kind of doing what her sister wishes, thinking that there isn't anything bad going on, and it's just kind of the unwilling suspect or the unwilling actor within the motivations of her older sister Dina, right? At least that's what I think. Court, what do you think? Do you think Nina's just as evil, or what do you think?
I mean, she could be. I do think Dina is definitely more evil. Also, when
Yes.
you take into account that Dina was previously married to Bella's brother, Michael.
Yes. Yes, that's right.
So,
Yes. Yes.
yeah.
100%.
And there's more theory behind that because Michael Batchelor had died, and when he died coming back from Sixham as an old man.
That's
So
right.
I think there could even be more alluded to there that maybe like or not the Goths, but the Bachelors have some kind of like blood or something in the
No,
alien.
that's definitely true. All we know is that Bella Goth does appear in The Sims 2 again. She appears in Strangetown. Now, for those of you who are predominantly Sims 4 players, there's a difference between Strangetown and Strangerville, right? Strangerville was made in The Sims 4. It was made to be an homage to Strangetown, but Strangetown is itself its own little world within The Sims 2, completely different, right? However, in Strangetown, every once in a while, if you're playing one of the families there, you will see someone that looks like Bella Goth just walking around. This Bella Goth has no memory of Mortimer, Cassandra, Alexander. They have no idea. They have no familiar relations. They are just wandering around doing their thing. Okay. And for the longest time, people didn't understand. Was this a fake Bella? Was this a some kind of like zombie Bella? Like who was she, right? The devs did confirm that that Bella was indeed the Bella Goth that was married to Mortimer or whatever, but for whatever reason, she is in Strangetown and doesn't know who she is or seemingly doesn't want her identity to be revealed, right? We end up learning a little bit more about what happened to Bella in The Sims 3. Maybe that's something that we can explore later down the line. But ultimately, as far as the story is concerned, that's as far as we go. We basically learn that Bella is missing, but she, for some reason, exists within Strangetown. So that's basically the disappearance, the story of Bella Goth, Don Lothario, and the Calientes. However, there is one more aspect of this story that is going to pivot us to some more lore regarding The Sims 2, and that is the Broke family, right? So in the same Pleasant View, there is a family called the Broke family, and it is Skip Broke and Brandy Broke. Okay, they live in a trailer park, in a trailer home. They are very much a struggling family. They have a teenage son, and then they have a little baby son. Interestingly, the game begins, or sorry, the Sims 2 begins with Skip Broke being dead. He's not present. He has passed away, right? We don't know why. He's just gone, right? Brandy's left by herself with her teenage son and her little baby, and she's just trying her best to make ends meet, right? But again, we see some things within the memories that are extraordinarily suspicious as far as the Broke family is concerned. Most importantly is that Brandy Broke got pregnant after Skip Broke died, right? That is the surprising bit of information. And again, just to be clear, guys, I'm gonna be completely honest with you. All of this is just technical issues that the developers mistakenly did. But by doing that, it sets into precedent what we believe the story of The Sims to be, right? And we officially make it canon by choice, right? So the theory is that Brandy Broke had her husband murdered for the purposes of collecting some kind of insurance money from him. And we believe that's the case because their family has a pool with no ladder, right? So we presume that Brandy had, either the repo man or something take the ladder, which caused Broke to drown in his pool. Yeah. And the reason I mentioned the Calientes is because Brandy has a very close relationship with Dina Caliente. Not only in game do they have a relationship, because they do, but in promotional material for The Sims 2, you see actually indications that Dina and Brandy are actually gossiping together and sharing secrets. So Simmers like to believe that Brandy Broke killed her husband under the guidance of Dina, who knows all about offing her husbands for collecting the insurance and the inheritance money and everything like that. So that's the very, very sad story of the Broke family. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, there's so much more to talk about. Let's keep pushing into it, unless you guys have questions, and I'm happy to expand on, right? So we need to then talk a little bit about what's going on in Strange Town, right? There are a couple of Sims within Strange Town that we need to talk about. The first, of course, is the Spectre family, right? Olive Spectre is a extraordinarily famous townie within The Sims 2. When you load up her lot, she lives with her niece, right? And their lot has a bunch of tombstones for some reason. Olive Spectre just has a ton, like a graveyard right next to her home. And we end up learning, and we learned this actually both from promotional material and from in the game, that all of Olive Spectre's husbands have perished, right? And all for different reasons. And it all started because Olive Spectre was left at the altar. And after being left at the altar, all her future husbands met untimely ends. Now, ironically, all of them have really funny names as far as like their like fates are concerned. Like you have euthanasia, you have rigor mortis, you have I forget. I'm forgetting the third one off the top of my head now. I feel silly.
I am too.
Yeah, Ichabod Spectre, right? You have Ichabod Spectre. And there's one more that I'm forgetting, and I apologize for that, guys. But the point, we never see them in the game. They're just names that exist on tombstones, right? However, we end up learning within, again, Olive's memories, right, is that she had a child, right? And we don't know what becomes of that child. At least at first glance, we don't know, obviously, right? And we've created the theory that Olive Spectre, the reason all of her husbands died, is because either she or the Grim Reaper are interested in one another. Now, of course, as you know, as far as The Sims is concerned, if you want the Grim Reaper to appear, you have to kill a Sim, and then the Grim Reaper will appear. So the thought process is that either Olive Spectre killed her husband so that the Grim Reaper could appear, so that they could do, you know, the beast with two backs, or the Grim Reaper himself was so in love with Olive Spectre that he would kill all of her potential husbands, right? Either way, super toxic, right? Super toxic. But that has been the long theory. Now, talking about the child, right? As far as we know, looking at the timeline of Olive Spectre, is that no child could have been born in the timelines of her husband. And in fact, within her memories, you actually see that she woohoos with the Grim Reaper. So she actually gets down with the Grim Reaper. So there's a thought that perhaps the Grim Reaper is the father of Olive's child. But where are Olive's child, right? Where did they go, right? And again, this is another family in Strange Town that if you visit them, they're called the Curious family, okay? So the Curious family is a family of, again, you have Pascal, Vidkun, and Laszlo. They're just individuals that live there, but they have a child called Nervous Subject, right? And Nervous Subject is just a little baby that grows up to be a teenager. That for the longest we know, based on their memories, that Nervous Subject is Olive Spectre's child, right? We don't know why. We don't know why he was taken away. We don't know why he was called Nervous Subject. But he is just a little punk rock kid who is very troubled, and as far as we know, is the Grim Reaper's child, right? Of course, the Sims team canonically made this truth in the Sims 4 Life and Death expansion pack. They made Nyan Spectre the Grimm's child. Perfect opportunity to mention that the reason why Nyan Spectre is called Nyan Spectre and not Nervous Subject is because the developers wanted to basically show the identity of Nyan being like the kid that would have existed if they had been left with Olive Spectre, right? He got the name Nervous Subject because he was taken away. But if he had stayed with Olive, he would have gone on to be Nyan Spectre, and that's why he is what he is in The Sims 4, right? But yeah, they're an extraordinarily famous bit of characters there. We have the Grunt family, which I think is an amazing family. The Grunt family is basically an army family. And again, as far as Strangetown is concerned, guys, Strangetown has the exact same lore setup as Strangerville in that there are scientists and there are army people, right? Two different types. Like the Curious family is scientists, and then the Grunts are military people. As far as like the actual Grunts are concerned, they're just army folks, right? They're just kind of strict army individuals. They have a bigger storyline in the Sims 2 spin-off games that exist, which that could be a whole nother episode at some point. But basically they are there to protect Strangetown from an impending alien invasion. And that's because Strangetown's main story, of course, is alien invasions, right? Like aliens are present. And that brings us, of course, to the Smith family. The Smith family is in Strangetown, and they're all aliens, man. Like all of them are aliens. Like a lot of them are aliens. Like they're just a whole bunch of green little alien men. And the head of the family is pollination technician number 9. And we need to talk about that for just a minute so you guys understand. Historically in the Sims series, the whole purpose of aliens is to populate and spread their alien genes everywhere. And a pollination technician is exactly what it sounds like. It's basically just a male escort sent down to bone as many people as humanly possible. That is quite literally what their name is called. So what they pollinate, you guys can't see it, but I'm air quoting. They pollinate the human species, and that's what they do. So that's what pollination technician is, of course, responsible for. And what's funny about this is that the Smith family lives right next to the Grunts. So here we have a army hating family living next to an alien family, and they just despise each other, obviously, right? Like it's the worst, right? But again, there's a lot of theories that pollination technician was likely responsible for stealing Nervous Subject. A lot of different little things are involved with pollination technician. Perhaps he was the one who assisted in capturing Bella Goth. There's a lot of different like beliefs as to what pollination technician was kind of responsible for at the time. But those are basically the Strangetown townies, right? I forgot to mention the Pleasant family back in Pleasantville. Also, they're another ones that we're dealing with. This is kind of the first time that we see I hate talking about this. So the Pleasants are basically the T of the Sims, right?
Yeah.
Like that's basically what they are, right? You have Daniel Pleasant, and you have Mary Sue Pleasant, right? They have 2 children, Lilith and Angela. But Mary Sue and Daniel's relationship isn't very good. Mary Sue is kind of a jerk, kind of messed up. And the reason she's messed up is because she discovered that Daniel was boning the maid, just boning the maid, just doing the dirty with the maid. And of course that makes them hate each other. And they don't get along, and their story kind of expands. So Daniel Pleasant in The Sims 2 is kind of a horrible man. They erase that from his history in The Sims 4 when he appears in the gallery, but yeah, that their whole story is kind of like T and like what they're doing in there, right? So yeah, I totally forgot to talk about them. The other like townies because there's a lot more townies, guys, but again, they're kind of just existing, right? Just like kind of present, right? Of course, you have like the land grabs and everything there present. but I'm focusing on the ones that are like very story heavy, right? And the one that I want to talk about next is there is a town in The Sims 2 called Veronaville. Okay.
Yes, I knew you were
Yeah.
going to bring this up.
So in Veronaville, right? And again, Verona one of them. We're live on stream. I really know. So Veronaville is a town that is supposed to be a themed around William Shakespeare, right? It is a magical town, right? It is like filled with elves and other magical creatures. But we have two families, the Monty family and the Cap family, which of course is Montagues and Capulets from Romeo and Juliet. The difference here, of course, is that the Montys are, and I'm going to mistake them. If I mistake them, please correct me. But I believe the Montys are just like the regular humans, and the Caps are like the elves. I believe. I don't know if I got it right. But again, you basically have them, and you have two teenage Sims who are indeed in love with each other, right? It's not like subtle. There's literally Romeo and Juliet, like they're in the game as NPCs. They're in love with each other. They want to be able to get closer. Their brother Tybalt gets into a fight with Mercutio. They basically remade Romeo and Juliet within the game. That's really what it is, right? But that's kind of their whole premise within The Sims 2. It's a very cute little story. Again, I correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that Sofia Coppola's Romeo and Juliet came out at that time. I want to say, I don't know if I'm right. It came around then. Right. Yeah. So that was like a whole thing that was based on that. The other family that comes to mind when it comes to The Sims 2 is that there's a family called the Greenman family. This is a plant sim family, right? So this is actually one of the more famous families within there. But effectively, it's cute because the mom is a plant sim and they have a plant sim baby. But Jason is not a plant sim. He's just a human, but he wants to be one. He wants so badly to be a plant sim. That's his whole thing. He's like, he wants to be a plant sim just like his wife and kid, and he's not, which is so sad, right? But whether or not he becomes one, of course, is up to you. It depends on if you want to play him to eventually become a plant sim. By all means, you can. But yeah, I thought that was just kind of the cutest little story there, right? But yeah, those are like the big lore aspects of The Sims 2. If there's anything I'm missing, Court, by all means, but those are the big ones that everyone really knows about.
What about like the Game of Thrones version of? Is that from?
That's Sims 3. That's Sims 3. That's
Sims
Sims
3. Sims 3?
Yeah.
No,
I know this is.
I'm confused.
I know this is a Sims 2. I'm sorry, there's a Game of Thrones crossover in The Sims 3.
Sort of. So in the Sims 3, there is a world that is effectively Game of Thrones. The idea is that you have dragons, dragon eggs, you have like a high fantasy setting. It's a whole thing. It's a whole
We should
thing.
do an episode on that.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. 100% yes. No, that's honestly, it's amazing. Honestly, what I learned the most from this is how to kill your husband and get away with it.
Exactly.
The Sims 2 edition.
Yeah, that really was ultimately what it was all about, right? Basically the Sims team was like, what is the one thing we can insert into our family simulator? The death and disappearance of their loved ones. Let's just do that. Let's just have them moving around everywhere, right? And that's ultimately what they did. But in doing this, they created an extraordinarily captivating story, right? Because it was enough of a story for you to be able to expand on it, right? Like you have Brandy Broke, right? She's poor, her husband's dead, she has 2 children. She's friends with Dina, and then you make a story from that. You're like, oh, she's the worst, so I'm gonna play her like this, and like it gives you enough to just go and do, right? Mm-hmm. Like I'm sure there were people out there who were like, oh, I'm gonna make Dina like a complete sweetie, like she's just misunderstood. Like and they could, right? They could take the story from there, from where they want to go, right? But there was just enough there for them to go full on with it, right? Now, the spin-off games, which I think is a story, which I think that's honestly an episode that we should do at some point, Stassi. Mm-hmm. The Sims 2 spin-off games expanded the lore in ways that you wouldn't believe. Like because consoles, you can't just do open world, do whatever you want. So they actually had to write narrative stories with these characters, right? So you expanded on the grunts, on the goths, on the specters. They expanded fully on these characters, and we got to explore them and write more lore for them that to this day is considered to be canon within the Sims storylines, right? So Sims 2 was just an iconic game that came out and sort of set the stage for what The Sims was ultimately going to be about, right? Will Wright, when he made The Sims 1, he made it as a satire of US capitalism, right? He basically was like, let's make The Sims be all about money and buying, just money and buying. That's all they want to do is buy things, sell things, accumulate wealth. That was all it was about, right? And then in The Sims 2, it was no, it's going to be a psychological thing. It's going to be about the psyche of the Sims and what they're about and how they interact with individuals and everything. And that's why the game had, zodiac signs, they had moods, they have motives, they had fears, wants, needs. Like the overwhelming amount of information within The Sims 2 is unlike any other game ever again. Like even The Sims 3 and even The Sims 4. Like The Sims 2's relationships, histories, milestones, fears, needs, wants, like so much more than anything else, right? And it was a game unlike any else. So if you guys haven't played The Sims 2 yet, I highly recommend it, if only to experience what is perhaps the best Sims game ever made and to enjoy it from that regard.
Amazing. I think that's like the perfect place to cap this off. Honestly, I learned so much, and I definitely would love to do a Sims 2 console lore because I played a lot of Sims 2, do not get me wrong. But I used to travel a lot with my dad, and I played Sims 2 on I had it on the PSP and I had it on my DS. Right. And I was just like, this is a completely different game.
Yeah, each one was completely different. The console versions were different. The handhelds were each individually different. It was like something else entirely. And I would love to expand on it.
Yes, I think that would be definitely an episode that we will film this year to talk about. For sure. Because like there's also Sims 2 Pets as well, which I don't have any core memory of what the Nintendo DS version of Sims Pets was. I just assumed it was like Neo dogs, like cats, dogs. And Sims. I don't remember, but you know what? It's sitting right behind me. So
100%. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. They expanded on it tremendously. Like they basically, it was an IP at that point. The Sims 2 was its own creature that was just expanding at that point. So 100%.
Interesting. Now, question for you. Do you ever think that they would do that again? Do like a Sims 4 console, but it not be a complete port over?
So that's actually, so you have to remember that they did that and they're kind of failing at it. So you have obviously the Sims 4. They released the console version and like everyone claims that it is the inferior version of it because you don't have CC and a lot of people don't know that you could just buy a keyboard and a mouse and connect it to your PlayStation 5 and use it. A lot of people don't know that you can do that. So they're sitting there with their little mouse trying to like put stuff on or whatever, right? Or their controller or whatnot. They're trying to figure that out. But we had the Sims Free Play, the Sims Mobile, right? There's a whole ass Sims game that like not a lot of people are playing. And in fact, after the Behind the Sims came out, every single person, like from Little Simsy to everybody, they were like, yeah, I don't care about Sims Mobile, and they just moved on. Like they just couldn't give a shit about it. You know what I mean? Like no one cares about it, but they're trying, and you're gonna see that with Project Renee and everything like that. Yeah, as of right now, I hope that one day we'll have it. They're re-releasing the games. I hope more than anything else, Stassi, that they remake The Sims Medieval. I want them to remake The Sims Medieval because I want them to see how much the fans want like fantasy back into The Sims, not just like fashion and social. They want fantasy, and I want that to be the testament that drives that decision. So I'm hoping they do that eventually.
Same. I'm also hoping for eventually an expansion pack in The Sims that's literally just medieval, so Juby can
Yeah.
have all the fun building all of the castles our little heart
100%.
desires.
100%. I'm gonna
But
make it happen for her.
yes,
And
definitely.
fairies.
And fairies. Okay,
If I
can I
yeah,
also
if I
ask for elves? If we're getting fairies, can I also ask for elves?
you're gonna get a regular ass sim with some pointy ears. That's all you're gonna get. That's all you're gonna get at the end of the day. No, but if I am ever blessed to make like a kit for The Sims, it will be entirely fantasy. Like it will just be plate like armor plating, princess dresses. It would just be all freaking fantasy stuff. Is what I'm.
Please make this happen. Also, we want crowns, okay?
Yeah, exactly.
We want tiaras and crowns.
100%.
Well, Gonz, Disney, thank you so much for coming here today. Gonz, thank you so much for
sure.
teaching me so much about Sims 2. Again,
Yeah.
everyone murdered their husbands.
Yeah,
Everybody
exactly.
watched Desperate Housewives and was like, that.
Yeah, guys, remember it came out during the time of the explosion of like reality TV, right? Like it was just beginning, and that's what it was all about. It was just drama, 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 drama.
I love that. Well, Gonz, where can we find you?
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitch at Mynameisgonz.
Amazing. Disney, where can we find you?
You can find me at the Disney Sims and at Towny Tales.
Amazing. Well, please go follow them. The links are going to be below. I hope you're enjoying these lore episodes. We have one more surprise one next week, and we will get back to interviews right after. Gonz, thank you so much for, again, teaching us of all of this lore that it's always been there, but a lot of people just don't know where to either A, find it, or B, look. So,
100%. Yeah.
Thank you both so much. Have a great rest of your day. We'll chat soon with everybody. Bye.